Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's session. We have a few minutes to go still until our official starting time. So please just bear with us while we give the remaining participants a few minutes to filter in from the lobby and join using the link and all the other things that people do on these platforms. So we'll start in a moment or two. Okay, well, good afternoon once again, everybody. My name is Gordon Angus, the Executive Director of the South African Engineers and Founders Association. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon for another exciting session. I do think that there probably will be a few more people that will filter in the next minute or two, but it seems to be happening automatically now. So I think we can start with the introductions and get this afternoon's session underway. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled once again to introduce our host for this afternoon, Mr. Brad Watridge. With over 27 years in the business sector, Brad is driven by a fundamental question: what does success truly mean? His journey has led him to explore diverse success stories across Southern Africa with a focus of business-to-business relationships and empowering SMEs in particular. As a published co-author and senior partner in a group of companies, Brad shares invaluable insights on business growth and personal development. His philosophy is rooted in hard work, integrity, and living one's greatness. Brad thrives on building meaningful partnerships, and he advocates for a balance between innovation and storytelling in business, championing the success and sustainability of SMEs. Welcome once again, Brad, and good to have you with us again. Today, Brad will be joined by Elmarie, a trailblazer in the realm of small and medium enterprise support. Elmarie is a visionary founder of the Clinic with Purpose, a groundbreaking platform that's revolutionizing how small business accesses tailored support. Her mission: to empower entrepreneurs by connecting them with the exact expertise they need to thrive. With a keen eye for the unique challenges faced by SMEs, Elmarie has crafted a support ecosystem that goes beyond conventional consulting. Her approach is rooted in practicality, offering actionable how-to content that speaks directly to the needs of micro and small enterprises. Folks, thanks very much for dedicating your time to us this afternoon. We really look forward to another exciting session. Brad, I know that you've got a bit of a different approach with regards to today's interaction from the audience. Would you like to take us through that? And if I can hand over to you for this afternoon's session, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gordon. It is going to be a little bit different. So I had this idea to really kind of position this as a podcast recording. So I know we're sitting with 23 people in the room, and a lot of us have questions to ask. So what we want to do is we want to ask everyone to please pop your questions in the chat section. Al and I are going to have a conversation around mindset management. We do have a short presentation that we're going to walk through as we talk through the topic and expand on that a bit further. But I think the most important thing for me is it's going to be very conversational, so that we do get a good audio piece afterwards, and we will then be able to distribute that out to our members. So if you're busy driving somewhere and you kind of want to be reminded about what we spoke about, you can pop on the recording and you've got a great podcast or audio file that you can listen to. And I think that's going to be quite strong added value for us as members. So if that's okay, I'm going to jump straight into it and welcome Al. How are you doing, Al?
Thanks, Brad. I'm great. I'm blessed as always. Thank you.
Good, good, good. So we're going to be talking around mindset management, and we actually had a session, to tell everybody else in the room here. Al and I were in a session together this morning, and we had so much fun. We actually had too much fun, I must say. But one of the things that kept creeping up was the need to build a very strong management team around us as small business owners, but also to keep check on what is the mindset that manages that management team. So Al, from your perspective, before we kind of jump into your presentation, how important is mindset when it comes to management and the team that implements that management?
Well, Brad, I think you start off with the knowledge or the knowing that you start off with the knowledge or the knowing that your mindset is the lens through which you see the world. And you can have a mindset of, I'm winning, the universe is on my side, everything works out for me, and challenges are opportunities. Or you can have a mindset of, everything is difficult, the world's out to get me, nothing works out for me, everything is a struggle. And depending on your mindset, two people can be faced with exactly the same situation, and one can thrive and the other one will fail. And that is why mindset matters, because if you're a leader and your mindset is that you are the victim, your entire team is set up for failure. There is no way that you and your team can actually succeed and overcome challenges. But if you have a growth mindset, if you have that optimistic lens through which you see the world, and I'm not talking about being unrealistic, it's a different way in which you can see, in which you view the world. And so if that is how you lead, not only do you inspire everybody that is engaged with you, but you lead your team in a way that makes them feel that they actually have a chance.
And I think we find more often than not, when we come into the space of SMMEs, or we come into the space of business owners, or even just come into different companies to execute our services, I mean, we often find that the mindset that governs the management of the company is really lacking. And it has kind of plagued us purely because we have a lot of external challenges that we have to face as business owners on a continuous basis. So I know in your introduction, you're talking about, driving innovation and as a leader, always having a strong mindset and really pushing the envelope. But we get tired sometimes as business owners, hey, Al? So
you do. And
yeah.
But you know what, Brad? You get tired because of your mindset. Because if you come from the stance that it is difficult, it immediately makes you feel tired. It immediately makes you feel defeated. But if you come from a mindset of, this is just a challenge, this is just a puzzle that I have to solve. It's just a problem that there is a solution for. and knowing that the solution is out there and to be creative about it. You know that, I mean, the way that I created the company was based on finding a solution to a problem that everybody was doing more of the same. And I knew that it could be done differently. I just didn't know how. And I started making it up as I go along. Because that's the other great thing about having a growth mindset, is that you're not afraid to fail, because you don't see failure as failure. You see it as a lesson. You see it as something else. So you've tried something, it didn't work. Now you're going to try the next thing. It's not, I failed and I should give up. And to come back to the thing that you just said about, you get tired because it's difficult. You get tired because you believe it's difficult. You get tired because you believe that there isn't other ways to do things. And I think especially, so when you're a small business, it is difficult because there is, there's lots of competition, and you're struggling to speak to the right person. And if you are, especially if you're a small business in a really rigid environment, we can so easily fall into the trap of, everybody is struggling, so surely I must be struggling too. And you just kind of fall into that mindset.
Yeah, and I think it trickles down to so generally, as business owners, we're sitting at the top, we're the key decision maker. We generally, the chief cook and bottle washer, and we sweep the place at the same time. So for us, we kind of wearing a lot of different hats, and that also just contributes to getting into this kind of negative mindset, because we have to not only run our businesses, but we also need to, work on admin if we're not really maybe a strong admin person. So we're sometimes doing things that we're not enjoying in the time, and it's very difficult for us to keep that positive mindset. But when we start to introduce a management team, in other words, we bring in our core team as we grow, we're bringing in people under us to start taking over those responsibilities. What do you think, in your perspective, and this is something I feel like you do really, really well in your company, in your own company, and you have built an incredibly successful business on your own, but what do you do to keep that core team positive? And I know you have crappy days. So I'm kind of sharing your secrets here, but what do you do as a business owner, as a successful business owner that plays in this space? What do you do to keep that team motivated when maybe yourself, you don't even feel like getting out of bed?
I think one of the most important things of being an inspirational leader is to talk to your team, is to be able to say to someone, and this is where we come, this is where we get to the the whole idea as well of how, as a business owner, do you find innovative ways to overcome challenges? Do you not fall into that victim mindset, but into the, this is just another challenge. It's not a failure, it's a lesson. And you do that by having honest conversations with your team. If you're a one-man band, you go out and you collaborate. Networks are so important. And even when you have a team working for you, it's so important to also have a network of mentors. And remember, mentoring comes in different ways. A mentor can be someone that's like a formal mentor, but it can also just be someone that's in a similar industry or a similar role to you, or someone that used to be in a similar industry. And you need to bring those people into your network. So the days when you are not feeling it, that that your team will still continue to do that. And, coming back to the question of how do you keep them motivated? If you are consistent as a leader that is positive, has views the world with a positive lens, with a growth mindset, then even on the days when you are low, your team will be up there. They won't need, so they will start encouraging each other, and you start feeding off each other's energy. And that's why it's, you need to be consistent in the way that you engage with your team, that you approach it, that you allow them to, and it's about allowing your team to come up with the solutions and to fail and to take risks. Because that encourages them, and it gives them the motivation to continue expand and to be innovative.
Yeah, and I like the prep work that you did in the document that you sent through, where it talks about, a sense of purpose. And I think, and I know that, as members, we operate in a certain space and we have certain type of challenges. But when you have a sense of purpose, when there's a story behind your business, when there's a sense of vision, your team that comes in to support that growth actually kind of buys into that vision. I don't think anyone starts at a company not wanting to make the situation work. I think there's very few people that come in with that perspective, but it's the journey within that company that actually starts to chip away at that person's positivity and starts to affect their mindset. And I feel like even my experience and my journey with bringing people in to support our growth, it's just allow them to also blossom, get to know your management team really well, get to know their strengths and their weaknesses, so that you can also tap into their positive mindsets in the way they see the world, in the way they envision the growth of the company. And you would find that middle ground and you would use that to your advantage. Sometimes being a leader is not about always leading. Sometimes being a leader is about actually stepping back and allowing kind of that management level, that key team that you've brought in to help you with your business, actually take control sometimes and forge ahead while you go to the spa, grab a cup of coffee, play golf, play the guitar like Gordon. Do you know what I mean? So I think, when it comes to mindset management, Al, and again, you do this really well. You allow your team to lead quite effectively, and it gives you a lot of time off for you to then focus on your own mindset. But letting go, that journey of letting go and allowing, that was quite intense, right?
Yeah. So look, you have to remind yourself, why did I bring this person into my management team? And you brought them in because they have certain skills.
Okay.
So you need to let them do what they are really good at. And you also have to have the humility as a leader to understand that you are not all things to all men, and you are not great at everything that you do. When you start out, yes, you have to do everything yourself. But as you grow, the reason why you bring other people into the organization is because they can do things, there's certain skills that they have, and they are better than you. And the best way to motivate a team and to make sure that your organization works is to allow people to do what you hired them for, and to trust them to do that. We all know that helicopter manager, and we all know the micromanager. And there's nothing more frustrating if you are working in an organization and you have a certain sense of purpose in what your skills are and what it is that you bring to this organization, and not being allowed to do that. And very often as leaders, it's not that we don't trust the people. It's a question of, I've been so used to doing it my way that I just find it's easier, it's quicker for me to do that. So you need to step back as a leader, and you need to allow people to explore their space in your organization, believing, trusting that they have the best intentions for the organization that they are working with. And so letting go is an exercise in trust. And again, this now comes back to your mindset as a person. Are you a trusting person, or do you not trust other people? And if you don't trust people, you really need to go and figure out, because you can't go through life not trusting others. It impacts everything in your life.
Yeah, and I mean, we live in a society where there is a deficiency of trust. And I mean, if you just go through the processes, specifically in this industry that we work in, you're reminded daily of how important that word trust really is. But what I like about, some of the work that you put in here is, you spoke around the role of leadership in influencing resilience, because I think that's really what you're looking for. We have to remind ourselves that we spend majority of our adult life in a work environment, if you really think about it. And, you know, when you own your own business, that's sometimes even a little bit more time you're putting in. So you're really spending kind of every waking moment in your business or in the business, helping the business to grow. And you're then bringing in this team to support you in the journey. But then we self-sabotage that process. And I find that often, you know, you actually break the person down instead of building them up. And maybe you don't even do it intentionally. Maybe you just do it as, like you said, oh, you know what, I can do this. I can do it quicker than you. Let me just quickly do it. And that shows that you don't actually trust the person, and that works around their mindset. So mindset management is not only about putting the set of kind of rules in place and watching your mindset, but it's actually watching your behavior with the rest of your team. Do you feel like that plays a huge role, how you behave as a leader?
Absolutely. You know, they say people leave bad managers, not bad organizations. And if I look back at my career, you know, working in corporate, every time when I felt that I wanted to leave an organization because I wasn't happy there, was because of the way that the manager treated me, or the manager made me feel about the work that I did, or my place in the team. All the times that I went for a promotion, or, you know, a role that would put me a little bit outside of my comfort zone, was because I was encouraged by a manager who came to me and said to me, Elmarie, you know what? You can now do more. And the behavior that we display when we work with our teams, when we engage with customers, is about, you know, do I trust you? I mean, ultimately, that is what your team wants to know, is that you trust them to do what it is that you are asking them to do, or where you employed them. Or and remember, you know, if you just think back when you were still working for a boss, or even now that you started your own company, why do you do that? You do that because you feel passionate about what it is that you do. You get a sense of purpose from it. You get a sense of satisfaction. You feel that what you are doing has meaning. And that's what we as humans want to do. We all just want to know that whatever it is that I do has meaning. What I am doing in this world is making a difference. That is what motivates us. So if you as a manager behave in a way that makes someone else feel that what they are doing is insignificant or unimportant or doesn't matter, and a really good example of this is where someone will ask, you know, when a manager asks you, or someone asks you to do work that there is no meaning in it. You know, how often, you know, and I remember in my days, you would be asked to write a report, and you write the report, but that report never gets read. It makes you feel like what you are doing doesn't have value. So the way that you behave, and this is where communication then also comes in, is making sure that your team understands the value that they add to the organization. And I'm not saying, you know, it's very important to acknowledge and to say thank you, but every once in a while also just remind someone that the role, you know, what the impact is of the way that they do that work. And this is especially when you start giving feedback, you know, when you need to talk to someone maybe about the quality of their work, is to talk to them about the impact that their participation and their contribution is impacting the entire organization and the team.
Yeah, and it's not always going to be Smurf Village. You know, we're not always going to have, I don't understand why there's just one Smurfette, but anyway, Smurfette running and Papa Smurf and everyone singing. It's not always going to be fun. But I think the important thing is if you know that you've got your team around you and you trust your team and you yourself behave in a way where you expect your team to behave. So, for example, if you want your team to be on time, you be on time. Often we find leaders in the organizations we work in, I'm sure you found this as well, that they actually don't live up to the expectation they have for their team. They don't even live up to those principles. And that's really important. And I mean, that's about being present as a business owner. And I know as soon as we bring people in to do the work, the first thing we want to do is just take time out and take the afternoon off and go and see our kids play soccer or go for a golf game or something like that. But I think that is the time more than ever that you need to be present in your business and just be a leader. Just even if it's the presence of leadership, check in every now and again, make sure the team is okay. But it is a big, big mind shift when you build your business, and as you build your business and as it grows, to shift how you manage mindset. But when things are a little cocky, when things are a little bit itchy and scratchy, what are some of the things I could do as a business owner to kind of realign back to the roles that I've set out?
So, I mean, there's various reasons why things can start becoming a little bit itchy and scratchy and not so lekker. And it almost always comes down to miscommunication or misaligned expectations. I know, sometimes I feel, this person isn't, this person now, they used to be on board and now they're not coming to the party so lekker, or, they're letting me down. I had this expectation of them. And in kind of evaluating the situation and kind of thinking about how we got to that, so often it's because I didn't communicate my expectations to them clearly. I just made the assumption that they knew. I wasn't clear in this is my expectation. Guys, I'm investing in this software, for all of you to use, and this is my expectation of how you are going to engage with it. And then, so now I have the expectation, I first of all, I wasn't clear. I just said to them, oh, I'm going to do this, this is fantastic. And then second of all, I'm not checking in regularly to see whether because sometimes when let's say, for instance, it is around, implementing new ways of work and the team isn't really on board, not checking in to see, do they understand what it is that we're trying to do here? Are they comfortable with the new way of working? Is what I envisioned, how it's going to be, is that actually translating like that into their world? Communication, open communication, and a clear direction, I think, is probably the easiest ways to make sure that your team all goes in the same direction in the first instance. But second of all, when you need to have a conversation with someone, there's clear parameters around which you can have the conversation, because you can clearly pinpoint where the challenges are, where it's not delivering, or where maybe things are falling through the cracks.
Yeah, and I think it also just talks through comfort zones. I'm just reading this piece of material that we've got on the screen here that we're sharing, and it's about a rigid industry, rigid industry, and the word rigid really kind of sticks with me because, specifically in the space we play in as an association, things are done, have always been done, and will always be done in a certain way. But there are some of us that challenge that, and some of us that really look at this and go, but this is nuts, there's so much red tape, and it's something that really I can't cope with, and sometimes we struggle to adapt to the industry, and some of us just go along and accept and we move on. So if you have a personality, or if you're struggling to process this industry yourself, does that filter through to your team, and kind of how do you stop that from happening? It's a bit of a weird question, I know, but just bear with me.
Yeah, so I think, when you have to do something that you are not comfortable with or that you don't buy into, it's very difficult to pretend that you are. And people will pick up on it, because immediately you become incongruent, and people pick up and they're not always quite sure what the reason is, but they pick up on the energy that you are not being honest, and it makes them uncomfortable. And immediately that impacts the relationship that you have. Yeah. So again, if you are in an industry where and I mean, I'm definitely one of those people, man, red tape and bureaucracy and rules, when I just want to go and be innovative, and I just want to do things differently, and I want to try new things, it is really, really frustrating. But again, this is now where your mindset comes in, because you have a choice what it is that you will accept and live with it, and where you feel comfortable to see how you can take the rules and adapt to them and make it work for you. And it is around being adaptable and being flexible. But sometimes you just have to be the grown up and say, I hate this. This is absolutely against my personality, but it is what it is. And then you accept it. And even that, accepting the current circumstances in which you are, and I'm preaching to myself, accepting the circumstances in which you are is really a way to already put your mindset in a more positive space, and it gives you peace. Because remember, when you are in a situation where you feel that it's not where you belong, it causes anxiety. It causes anxiety, it causes depression, you know, and it filters through to your team. Your team picks up on that. You're not sleeping well, you're worrying, you're stressing. This is not because you are not comfortable. Everything in you is shouting, I'm not comfortable here. And so that leads to all kinds of issues. But sometimes we can't move from where we are. You are where you are. It is what it is. There's a song. It is what it is. And it is what it is. And if you get to a point where you in your mind can say, you know what? I can't change it. This I can't change. I accept it. However, the following things are in my control and I can change that. And that's when you start taking your power back and your mind, you can move back into a positive mindset, a growth mindset, a mindset that tells you, you know, it's that thing where they say, you know, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. If you change the way that you feel about the frustration that you have around the environment in which you are, you will find that that environment changes.
No, very true. Very, very true. But we're midway through already. Time goes really quick. And I want to throw out some, you know, really practical step-by-step what to do. So, you know, the scenario is, you know, I'm a business owner or a partner in a company. I work in a very specific industry that's really bombarded with slow growth, a lot of complicated government legislation. It's the first in the firing line when it comes to union work. So there's a lot of stuff being thrown at me. Yet I've got to show up, and I've got to show up in a certain way so that my team remains encouraged, and then my team can also help me drive this business forward. In just 2 or 3 points, what can I do? Wake up in the morning, do I scream into my pillow? Like, what are your kind of suggestions to shift that mind, to click over into a space where we're not, you know, watching negative stuff on Facebook and worrying about what's happening across border and overseas? A couple of tips.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, the acronym that we use there is PIES. And it's the same for whether you are working in a challenging, you know, whether you are having challenges in your business, whether you're having challenges in your personal space, whether you're having challenges in relationships, whether you are having challenges, you know, just kind of overall with life coping, you know, because sometimes, you know, everything happens at once. And the P stands for physical, you know, so you need to be healthy. You cannot function in a stressful environment if your body isn't healthy. And then I is your intellect. So make sure that you understand the legislation, because if you understand the industry, if you understand the challenges and you have a growth mindset, you can now start looking for the loopholes and the opportunities within that. So that's where the intellect comes in, you know, and also, you know, engaging with thought leaders and, like I said, mentors earlier, you know, make sure that your network is as wide as you can so that you can always go to other people and soundboard off them. And then E is emotional, and this is your emotions. And there it's, you know, learning how to really regulate your emotions. you know, it's so interesting if you really get into the space of understanding mindset to see how emotions and thoughts play off each other. So you have a negative emotion, and then and a lot of times, you know, when we're in a space where we feel a little bit stressed, sometimes the stress it's just a chemical reaction in your body that the stress kind of comes up and you feel a little bit, your heart beats a little bit faster. And now immediately your mind's going, oh, my body's uncomfortable. What's the cause of this? Let me go check, you know, okay, so I think I'm going to lose this customer. And immediately your body needs to now put a negative thought. And the other way around as well, you know, something happens, you have a negative thought and your body reacts to that. So if you can learn to regulate your emotions, and when you have an emotion, to just kind of observe it and, you know, is this a valid emotion or isn't it? And just kind of go through that. And then the last one is S, and that's spiritual. And what I mean by spiritual is you need to take time to understand your place in this universe. Because frankly, life does not revolve around you. And sometimes we take life so personally, and we take responsibility for things that is completely outside of our control. And if you can connect in a spiritual way, in whichever way makes sense for you, if you can connect in a space where you make time to just be quiet and to remember how incredibly insignificant you are in this world, but at the same time, the huge impact that you can have through positive engagement with other people and with yourself. And that kind of brings everything into a place where you feel more in control. And then, of course, it is really, really important to understand what your values are. Because if you know what your values are, that is the way that you will then understand how to, when you feel uncomfortable, is it because it's against your values, or is it just because it's against your beliefs or your habits or your expectations? And those are two very different things. Because if something goes against your values, you cannot get past that. If something goes against your values, it becomes an affront to you as a human. But if something is against your expectation, you know, it's not, you know, it's your expectations, or it's your beliefs, or it's, you know, around the, you know, tradition. Those are all things that you can learn to live with and change and adapt to. So when you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, flip it, another day, understand why do you have that feeling? Is it because what you are doing is going against your values? Or is it any of the other things that by changing your mindset around them, you can actually learn to embrace and live with?
I think it's pretty easy. I mean, it's easy to be guided by your physical, intellect, emotional, and spiritual. And I think what really makes us amazing as citizens in a great country is we all have different spiritual needs. We also have very different spiritual beliefs, but we all kind of respect them. And I think that is what's so beautiful, you know, when you bring that into your business and you integrate that. And I personally, I'm not sure how everybody else feels, but I do think it's good to be vocal around your beliefs and values when you do bring on someone in a management level, because they're going to become quite close to you. They're going to become your extended family, and they need to understand, you know, where the buck stops, basically. And I think we don't do enough of that. I think we automatically presume the same person has the same values, sets of values as us. And it's not to say our values are perfect. It just might be a little bit different. And I think that's where the misalignment sometimes comes. And that's what triggers off that kind of negative mindset within the workplace. But what I picked up, Al, I don't know if you've experienced this. The other day I was in Fourways, and we were in this beautiful office park. And we went into the building, beautiful, beautiful space. And I was watching, as I was walking to my client, I was watching the different people, which you could see into people's offices, and watching different people. I know it's weird, but really just looking at their body language, what they're doing. I mean, it was like 11 in the morning. And a lot of them were, you could see they weren't engaged. They were just sitting there. Some people, a lot of them were on their phones. And if you just glimpse long enough, you can see it's a social media platform. And that is a big thing, that when you actually hold an office space, when you hold this management team in a single space, that is a very important space to manage, Elle, from a mindset perspective.
Yeah. But, holding space and energy for other people becomes actually your most important role as a manager. Because if you exude an energy of fear or anxiety, you throw your entire team. If you come
100%.
in and you are positive and upbeat, it's a bit like when you're in the plane. So I'm a bit scared of flying. And when I'm in the plane and we hit turbulence, I always check, what does the air hostess do? If she's carrying on with trolley service, then I relax. If she turns around and she runs for the doors, I'm panicking.
Yeah,
And that's exactly
true,
how you
true.
are as a leader. Remember that your team watches you. I mean, how many of you have worked for someone and then you get home in the evening, or you get to work and you just see, my manager today, she's definitely, or he's definitely not in a good space. Something's going on. And it affects the way that you feel about how your day is going. Because now you're not sure, is there problems in the company? Is it something I did? And that's why when you get up in the morning and you can put yourself in a positive mindset and you can take that into the office with you, your entire team will perform better. But I want to come back to the values, of making sure that when you employ someone, that they have the same values as you have. I was a partner in a company a few years ago, and my values, my highest value is to be of service. My highest value is to be of service and to be collaborative. My first instance is I trust. And my business partner, although one of his values was also being of service, he had a higher value of being profitable. So for him to be successful. So in my values, success doesn't even feature. One of his values was to be successful. And that, in reality, that started to translate different in how we engaged with each other, but also with our customers. It also had an impact on how our relationship, when we hit a hiccup, how we dealt with that, because we came from two different places. And in the end, that relationship didn't work out. And that's why when you engage with people, you have to be very clear about what your values are. And one of the first things that I would ask when, in an interview is to ask someone, what are your values? And that will tell you whether it is things that you can work around and that is complementary to yours, or if it's values that in the end is going to cause challenges and conflict.
Well, yeah, I think values is something we need to pay a little bit more attention to. And I think also from our perspective, and specifically in the industry, I think it is up to us to start instilling the value system that we would like as an industry, not only as us as individuals. So there's different kind of levels of values that you can actually encompass. And it's not from a sense that I know better than you or I'm better than you. I mean, we do get this feeling from some people that, they walk around as if they are being divinely created. But it's a sense of bringing everybody on board. And, when you go through mindset management and you bring that into your business, it really affects the outcomes of your business 100%. But we are kind of running out a little bit of time. I want to use this opportunity just to kind of wrap up the podcast by just chatting a little bit about your success journey, Elmarie. I mean, you do Clinic with Purpose. You are on LinkedIn. You're very active. Your credentials and your email is available for those who need it. But I think for me, why did you come back to South Africa?
Yeah, so we lived in England for 17 years and we came back in 2014. And the reason for that was because I was working in corporate. I didn't have a purpose and I didn't make a difference. And as I said to you earlier, one of my highest values is to be of service. And I just felt that I could not live that value out working in a corporate. And that's why we came back, was specifically for that.
Yeah. So while we wrap up the recording, we are sitting with an audience, and we are going to be talking through a couple of questions and opening up the floor to the audience that have joined us in this recording, and answer some questions. So for those of you that are listening in and you're part of the recording session, this is Tim, Kesh, Prashni, Peggy. Please feel free to ask questions on the chat section. We will answer them and ask them for you. And comment, what has been your journey around mindset management? I know a few of you here. I find you guys quite positive. I think your ability to manage and to work is quite effective. But there are a few of us that are struggling with this process. Al, can people reach out to you? Are you open to that if they want to just have a conversation
Absolutely.
via your email? Yeah.
No, absolutely. I just realized that there's a spelling error, so it's Clinic with Purpose, just one P. And again,
no
purpose.
PP.
No PP, just one P.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, like I said, purpose is really important to me. So that's also why, why that's in my company name. So yeah, people are absolutely, I'd love to hear your thoughts and, if there's anything that we can help with. We have such a wide range of business consultants and experts that are all share my values. And we are a collective of small businesses supporting small businesses.
Yeah. And I mean, if you just think about, the SMME space, it's governed by companies that I think turn over less than 50 mil a year. So
yeah.
it's from the auntie that's selling the millies on the side of the road, all the way to the uncle in the furniture store. I've got an uncle in I was thinking of Joshua Doore this morning when they had the answer around familiarity and brand. I wanted to raise it, but I forgot. So Sonia's got a great question for us. Sonia's like, how can we work around other managers whose values are not clearly the same and are actually even in conflict with the rest of the team? Do you want to grab that?
Look, it's something that's going to cause you a lot of frustration. And remember, I said to you earlier, people leave bad managers, not bad companies. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was the reason, most instances, where I left, because the values didn't align. But I'm not suggesting, I mean, it's not always possible to leave. And Sonia, this is now where it comes, this is where resilience becomes so important, because you have to get to a point where you accept that manager and their values as part of your environment. It is what it is. They are complicated. They have different values to yours. And you just have to find a way to be okay with that, where it doesn't cause you anxiety and stress and negativity. And you just have to work around them. And it's not always possible. I completely get that. I mean, I was in situations where, you are forced to work with someone that the moment you see them, you just want to hit them in the face with a sock full of rocks, because that's just how frustrated you are with them.
Irk you. Yeah.
But it does help. It makes it easier for you, not for them. And I'm not absolving bad behavior and all of that. But in the end, it is your mental health. It is what is good for you. And the best way, if you can't move out of their space, is to find a way to accept that it is what it is. And then also to just believe that eventually they will move on, because people move. change happens, you know, and it's just kind of, yeah, I'm really sorry. I can't really give you a 5-point plan that is legal.
Yeah, and I think
doesn't involve.
Yeah, look, I think
bats.
if Sonia really, if this is something Sonia's dealing with and just really wants to examine further, Sonia, you're more than welcome to reach out to Elle and have an offline conversation where Elle can maybe go into a bit more detail and kind of make it a bit more targeted in the answer. The overreach is that it's solvable. And, you know, we have to watch how we behave. This has been a big lesson for me, actually, personally. Your body language, the way you answer people. If, let's say, for example, we've got Kesh, Tim, and Mandy work together, right? And Tim and Mandy get along really well. They share values. You know, they come from the same background. They have a lot of conversation, but Kesh maybe doesn't have that and doesn't resonate with the two of them on that level. And there starts to be a behavior difference between how Tim engages with Mandy and how Tim engages with Kesh. That's going to create a problem. And we have to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, we may have our own values and cultures, etc., but they're not the only ones around. There are many others. And I know we're aware of it, but we're sometimes not aware of it. If you just watch people and see how often they try to impress their culture, their values on everyone around them, and it actually doesn't work like that. You have to be the sponge that kind of absorbs in order to get the best out of the people around you. And I can tell you that from personal experience. So we also have another question around, and we've got 10 minutes to go. So please, guys, Devin, Bianca, Angie, if you guys have got any questions, ask them now before we close up. Or alternatively, we will be broadcasting this, I believe, in on socials, Nicole. And you guys can then engage on the social level, or you can do it offline by mailing myself. Gordon's available. I know Al will be available. But Nicole was talking around what is the sweet spot between values and competence. Do you need to find a sweet spot? Does the one come without the other? Or can you find the Valhalla?
No. So, you know, for me, you can have the most noble values in the world, but if you are not competent, you cannot fulfill your purpose in that team. So you hire for competence, but you select on values. And I think that's really, really important is, you know, yes, I mean, people can have potential, you know, that's a slightly different thing. But the main, if you hire someone that can't do the job, I mean, you are setting everybody up for failure. It doesn't matter how great their values are. So there is no sweet spot. You hire for competence and you select for values.
Yeah, I think that's really important, hire for competence. And Angie, I love Angie said, Savima, she wants to know what the 5-point illegal plan is. She's asking for a friend.
Angie, you can contact me afterwards.
Elmarie knows where all the bodies are buried. Literally. So, yeah. Well, guys, you know, we've got 8 minutes to go. I think we covered quite a bit. I think we all realize how important it is. And it is important to note that we're all human beings. And if you put an incredible amount of pressure on yourself to show up in a certain way every single day, that's not going to happen. None of us have the ability to rock up every single day, 100% geared up, 100% in the mindset space. So it's really important to build a team around making them super aware what your strengths and weaknesses are and being open to that. And being prepared to have those conversations, you know, so that you have your back watched when you're having a bit of a dodge day or there's lots of personal things happening. And I just want to give a personal recommendation. So I've gone off social media. I use it purely for networking now and a little bit for Pinterest, just to, you know, find out pictures I want to read in my bathroom, looking for stuff. And it's really, really helped me with clearing out my mindset space. So just watch social media and the impact that it has on you and the impact that it has on your team. Reach out to your team, engage with them, ask them, you know, how active are you on social media? And maybe have one or two, bring a specialist in to talk through the perils of doom scrolling, the perils of being pulled into conversations that really affect your mindset, because you bring that into the workspace. Nicole, you had a question or I would imagine a comment? Question or comment, Han? Are you there, Anne?
Sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're
I
nice and
didn't
clear.
necessarily want to open my mic because I can imagine that anyone in and around Joburg is either recovering from a flu or has the flu. I'm currently recovering, but I just wanted to sort of open up a point that you made, which I think is quite interesting, that you said about, being aware that you're not the only one with values, although you're in the management position. I think that's a very progressive way of thinking, because I think, just going back to 2 sessions we had previously with Kulani, something she made mention of, being in South Africa, knowing that there's so many diverse sort of cultures and value systems that feed into ultimately how we show up in the workspace. It was an example of, although the person wasn't your paternal father, but because of your cultural beliefs, that person is still considered your dad. So ultimately you need to take off work and so on. And I think in many instances that can sort of translate in different ways based on the culture and ultimately based on values. So I think that's quite important. But I think, again, I'll just ask if there is a way to sort of have room to accommodate all of that and still sort of be productive or meet all objectives on merit of why you are hired. I don't know if that makes sense. Is there room to sort of host all of those values collectively?
Yeah, entertain it, because some of us are Gen X. We're like, dude, we don't have time for this. We had this conversation last time about how Gen X just like don't have the patience, because we had to, just get on with it. Now we have to kind of what we believe is entertain things that we don't believe hold value. But Nicole, you're a different generation and you hold incredible value. I mean, I see how you manage our team. You hold such strong value in that sense. So, Al, do you have an answer for that? Can you accommodate it all?
Yeah, so Nicole, I think, it's around, so that here there's 3 things that you need to be very clear on, is that, what is the expectation of you as a manager of your team? Because, you can, values and, and traditions and all of that, but if there's an expectation, and this is now again where the type of manager that you are comes in, because if you are the type of manager that believes that the hours that you sit on a chair behind your computer equates to the quality of your work, I don't think that you are a very good manager. A good manager is someone that is absolutely outcome driven, and how and when you do your work doesn't matter. I have an expectation that this is how you are going to deliver. So if that is clear, then the values around that doesn't, because all that you're looking for then is someone that has the values of understanding that they have loyalty and they have commitment. They have committed to do work and they have a good work ethic. So that then it doesn't matter. When it comes to more kind of cultural values and differences, again, if you are a good manager, you would set up an environment in your team where people are open, accepting, and collaborative and curious, and you create a curiosity about the different cultures. Because even if you go back to Sonia's question around values that are completely against yours, chances are that if Sonia spends some time with that person, she will find that they have at least one value in common. And actually that is, so you start looking for the commonalities and you focus on that rather than the differences. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, it does. Thank you so much.
So Nicole, before you mute, we've got 3 minutes left of the session. We've got quite a nice lineup of guests coming across and different subjects that we're talking through. Do you want to maybe talk through some of them, some of the concepts that we have, or would you like me to take that on?
Just to avoid anybody asking what I'm saying, Brad, do you mind just going through it? My voice is a little
No, it's
scratchy,
okay. So one of the things I'm looking forward to is we had quite an interesting conversation yesterday with a gentleman who really is focused on, artificial intelligence and the impact that it's having for all of us. Now, I know we're on the southern tip of Africa. According to the Americans, we're probably the whole of Africa. But AI does affect us, and it is transforming our industry, and it is a very important conversation to have. And what do we do when we don't understand it, and how do we tackle it, and how do we still keep that positive mindset, knowing that these processes are coming into play. So we've got that coming up. That's going to be a very interesting one. I also brought in a guest who talks around your saboteurs when it comes to selling. Now, we all have it. So when you approach a market and some of us say, oh, well, I'm not a salesperson. In essence, we're all salespeople. I mean, otherwise we'd be walking around nude and we wouldn't care. We dress a certain way, we drive a certain car, we do a certain thing because we're selling. And it's how do we get over those saboteurs? How do we find them? How do we get over them? And how do we actually bring that sale to market? That's going to be an incredibly interesting one. So please keep an eye out on the LinkedIn account. Follow, comment. We'll put out a marketing piece there. We also, I think we market internally because this is only open to members and it's a value for members. And if you do want the recording, please reach out to Gordon. We can arrange the recording for you. You can listen to it every now and again when you're dropping the kiddies off or taking mom-in-law to the doctor or whatever you need to do. And that wraps us up, Gordon. What do you think about values, Gordon? Mindset?
Thanks very much, Brad and Elmarie. Yeah, look, very, very important. I mean, I just think that I went through a particular patch and was just brought on by nothing more than a colleague of mine having to take leave at a particular point in time that we were exceptionally busy. And I almost subconsciously, I don't really remember actually taking a conscious decision to do this, but almost sort of subconsciously thought, well, the only way I'm going to get through all of this that we've got to do is to change my mindset, because up until that point, I would remember getting to sort of a Friday or Saturday and looking back on the week and saying, wow, I put out so many fires this week, and that kind of like my life just became, I just felt like that's what I was doing all the time. And I just had this sort of subtle shift in mindset to be much more forward thinking and much more kind of proactive in that. And it's just changed the game for me completely. It's just become a case of, really being reinvigorated and really sort of starting to enjoy what I do all over again. And I'm not one, who was necessarily a big believer in things like mind shift change and that until it actually happened to me. And it's actually astonishing. It's really changed the game. So I think very, very valuable lessons and discussions and incredibly, incredibly powerful when you can get it right, and you can work on it. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Gordon. Would you like to wrap up, or can I wrap up everyone and send everyone off while we have the credits conversation, we call it?
Absolutely. Brad, please go ahead. From my side, thanks very much to yourself and to Elmarie. Thanks very much for your time. Really, really enjoyed it. So thanks everyone for attending.
Awesome. So guys, yeah, we're done. You're more than welcome to leave the room when you're ready. We're going to stick around for a few minutes while the credits roll. Tell one or two dirty jokes. I'm joking. We won't be doing that here. That's not appropriate. Elle, are you still with us or have you gone off?
I'm still here.
How's Liquor, my favorite puppy?
She is muddy and dirty and bored. This rain is doing her head in.
That's crazy. So we had a great session today. Nicole, I'm sure you were aware of our session where we met with a whole bunch of SMMEs. I think we had 100 plus SMMEs there. Great journey. Thanks, Madeleine. Really nice to see you. Cheers, Kesh. Cheers, Donnie. Donnie didn't speak up this time. Donnie usually speaks up. It's one of our favorites.
I do, but we podcasted.
Yeah,
had a good session.
I know it's a strange concept.
Yeah. She would also say that it felt like that there was a case study surrounding us.
Donnie, it's always a blessing, man. Donnie is shy. Angie, yes, I love Angie's sense of humor. Hey, Dora, it was nice that you were with us. Kesh was early. She was the first person to come through. So have a great evening, everyone. And that's us. I think we're going to close the session. Elle, thank you again very much for your time, and we will catch up soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Elmarie.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.